Estabrook Hall was built on the campus of the University of Tennessee in 1898. In 1906, during a renovation, UT leadership filled the time capsule with important items and proudly placed them in the cornerstone of the building. For over a century, the time capsule has remained untouched until now. Hi everybody, thank you for joining us for the Estabrook Hall Time Capsule Reveal. I'm Alicia Schumar, the University Archivist, and joining us today,
I'm Bob Hutton from UT Department of History.
And I'm Amanda Richards from the UT Hodges Library.
Well, before we dive into what's in the box, I wanted to kind of frame what was going on campus in 1906 when they put this into the ground. There was about 730 students, 95 faculty, which is a big college at the time, and the tuition at the time was about $300. That included room, board for the entire year. So we also kind of brought Bob in here to talk about what was going on with the university administration and why this time capsule was so special.
Yeah, well, 1906 was what we call the progressive era, right? And so a lot of Americans were really thinking about the future. And so education, publicly funded education, was something that people were very interested in. The University of Tennessee was growing by leaps and bounds between about 1890 and 1920. And it's no big surprise that they would decide to put down a time capsule at this point. Estabrook Hall, of course, was named after Joseph Estabrook, who had been president way back in the 1830s and 1840s. And I think it's very notable that President Charles Dabney, and then after him, Brown Ayres, would decide to name this engineering building after him. Dabney, of course, was president from the 1880s until 1904. He's the one that devised the University of Tennessee as a place to train both engineers, farmers, and public school teachers. And Brown Ayres, who was a physics professor who became president in 1904, he continued a lot of Dabney's work. And of course, he's president when this time capsule was laid.
And so that's Brown Ayres of Ayres Hall fame on
Yes.
the hill. And so that building wasn't even there yet at this time. So
1919.
Right,
Yeah.
so this building is older than what is sitting on the hill today.
That's right.
So when we talk about time capsules, 1906, that's a little bit early for the time capsule trend across the United States. That actually happened more into the 20s and 30s. Can you talk about the construction and what we found when we pulled this out of the ground?
Sure. Yeah, when we had in our records, in special collections as well as facilities, that there was a time capsule located
In the northwest corner.
right. Yeah. And so we knew where to find it, and we're kind of just hoping that it actually was there. And we went out and removed it, and you know, it's built great for the time.
So this is a lead box.
It is lead, and it's got the what we assume is lead tin solder that seals the whole lid.
So
around
the whole
edges.
entire lid was soldered shut for
Correct.
112 years.
Correct, completely sealed.
Why
With
did they choose lead?
They probably chose lead, and assumption is that it was just a very durable material that they knew would last a long time. As you can see, there's not really any rust or anything on it. So
we do see
like
some
the
dents
steel.
and some buckling on the sides. So
Right.
we're assuming that happened from over time, that the bricks were over top of the cornerstone?
Right, how it was laid in the cornerstone, they had removed a piece of the cornerstone, placed it in, and then laid bricks on top. And you can actually make out right here the perfect indentation of where they had one solid brick. So just time and weight just kind of squished it, and you can see how it buckles on
both
each
the
side.
sides.
So,
So how long did it take you to chisel through the solder to actually free the lid from the bottom of the container?
so in all, with a micro chisel and a little hammer, very
So some
delicately.
of your tools right here.
Yeah, with some of these here, I went ahead and grabbed one of these with a small hammer and gently just kind of tried to break just the solder and leave the box intact. It took probably about 45 minutes or so.
So it was very strong, and then you noticed that it was soldered all the way shut. So they were hoping that that would keep it from the elements, being that it was outside in the ground.
Correct.
So can you talk about what time capsules kind of look like when you pull them out of the ground?
Yeah, so this is actually a very good
Yeah, there's no
example.
rust.
Right, this one looks phenomenal. A lot of times you'll see the box is completely rusted through, or it's made of glass and it's shattered, or any number of things you can see, but this one looks like it's in fantastic condition. So.
And lid doesn't rust.
Not that I know,
Yeah.
not that I know of, not that I can see, but you can see some tide lines on the top where it has been sitting in water, which is not exactly what you want when you're preserving documents like what was in the list for what would be in here.
Right, and so the northwest corner is actually one of the corners that are closest to the stadium as well. too.
Correct.
Oh no.
So way before the stadium was ever there, this was placed in the ground to have a day like this to celebrate the history and legacy of the University of Tennessee. So we'll go ahead and see what is in the box. I'll go ahead and remove the lid here.
It's very heavy.
It is very heavy.
It's lit.
Smush a finger.
It's about what we expected, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
So you can see the outline of what was listed in the artifact list that was celebrated during the 1906 University Day. So what you're seeing here is the decomposition of the paper items that were in here in the time capsule laid in 1906. So what else you can see is the outline of the photographs and the newspaper and the catalog that was listed here. And this is pretty common, unfortunately, with time capsules that are placed in the ground.
Yep, with items that are placed in the ground, especially paper or any kind of organic matter that you're going to be putting in there. I mean, it's built to deteriorate.
So you think about artifacts. So an archaeological dig, you can find artifacts and different things.
You'll find
centuries.
shards or shards of glass and other
Pottery.
items, pottery.
Right, but most of everything that was listed in here was paper or photographs.
Correct.
Correct.
Was there anything listed that wasn't paper?
No, actually, everything that was listed in here was either a paper or a photograph of the time.
I see.
So luckily, since they did their due diligence in listing everything that was that they laid in this time capsule for a future generation to see, we actually have all of the elements in the university archives from 1906 that were actually listed being in the time capsules. So sort of the magic of TV and pulling them from the bowels of the archives, we can show you what was in the time capsule laid in 1906. So there were photos of the new technology at the time for the engineering building. Some engineering students would have worked on the machinery here in mechanical engineering. There was also a photo of the renovated building at the time.
Neyland Stadium's missing.
You will notice Neyland Stadium is absent to the left
Skyline's
of
a little
that.
different.
There's also some postcards that they printed up for the building itself. The inscription of Estabrook Hall. A picture of Brown Ayres himself. He was very excited about the legacy and
clearly.
preserving the history of the University of Tennessee. Now these are some of the more delicate elements that were listed in here. This is the University Day cardstock and invitation for the celebration of the 1899 building. So they had kept that, and they also included that within the time capsule. And so these have made it through history by living in a university archives and not in the elements.
Yes.
And also the celebration of the 1906 University Day. So University Day would have been something like a homecoming celebration at the time. They would have had a parade, they had the band at the time play, the orchestra play, they had speeches and poetry readings, and it would be a celebration throughout that entire day. So the dedication of this building and the time capsule itself was on April 23rd, 1906, and we have both the invitation card and the program from 1906.
Fantastic.
Since this was an engineering building, they also wanted to include an engineering manual at the time that was the new technology, sort of like your sort of subscriptions of journals today. And two other elements. So these seem too big to fit in this tiny time capsule, but they've been bound through the years. So it would have been your paperback catalog of the University of Tennessee. So they also had a catalog from the Summer School of the South that you talked about, where teachers were educated from across Tennessee and actually took their what they learned here at the University of Tennessee back to their individual schoolhouses.
That was one of the biggest activities going on at UT at the time.
Yes, it brought in people from across the state and tried to really ramp up and make it equal across the state for what they were learning in the primary schools.
Yes.
And this also lists the College of Engineering, the courses that they needed to take, the faculty within the College of Engineering, and all the new, all what the new building would offer to the students within engineering. And the final thing here was the catalog for the time. So these are the courses that they would have taken. So this is not that much different than what we see today in the course catalogs of what the students are taking and registering for here at the University of Tennessee, listing all the faculty and the courses that they teach, and going through here. So they would have thumbed through this just like we do today to schedule their classes and see what they need to take. And so this would have been the paperback version that would have been, I'm assuming, here at the bottom of this, since it is the weightiest of them.
Now, how do we know what actual materials were in here compared to what we actually have in good shape?
So we have that from it being listed on the University Day program, and it was also celebrated again, listed in a big write-up within that course catalog for that year. They really celebrated this building. This was new technology at the time, and they were really proud. And so it's listed here, and we're lucky enough to have these preserved for now and into the future for someone 100 years from now to celebrate, to talk about what was in this time capsule, but to also see what we've preserved over time.
So it sounds like archives are a better idea than time capsules.
Yes, we actually get that question quite a bit. You know, what do you want to do with your own time capsule? So what would you recommend if someone's trying to do their own time capsule today?
So first and foremost, I would say don't put it in the ground.
Don't leave it in the elements. We always say the worst places for your historical documents are in the ground or in your attic.
Yeah, leave it out of the attic, leave it out of the ground. The best option that you have, if it's something you actually want to last a long time, is go to your local historical institutions
or the university archive.
The archives here.
Special collections, yeah.
Yep, and we do a living archive where we have the lists and the items, and we keep it in the right conditions and out of the rain and out of the mud.
We try to keep them in cool, dry environments so it's happy and they can stay here and so people can see them through the future. So we don't want to try to put something out in the elements of a time capsule today. So we recommend don't do it. Yeah. You can talk with us in your historical institution or keep it in a cool, dry place in your own home.
Correct. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so we see that as this is actually really, really common for the time capsules at the time. So luckily, since they were really happy about celebrating all these different things, that we have the list, that we have those today. So we're really happy to be able to bring all of these different elements to show you what was placed within this time capsule. So this will be on display with all of the elements that were listed here in Special Collections in Hodges Library, and that will be on display through August. So you can see the time capsule itself, see the dents from the 112 years of bricks laying on top of it, and we can even talk about what the decomposition of when water gets into paper elements and newspaper elements of the time. And so that will be on display through August here in Hodges Library.
All right.
Awesome.
So if you have questions, you want to come visit us and see any other history or legacy material of the University of Tennessee or East Tennessee, we have a lot of material here within Special Collections. You can come see us. We're open to the public, and this will be on display through August. So thank you for joining us today.
Thank you
for talking with us, and we'll see you soon.